I'm Tom Giles, your host for tonight. I got Chris Forsberg. I got Jeff Goodman standing by. And, so if you're looking at 4 weeks, that would have been April 27th. Jeff, with all due respect, I got to start with Chris Forsberg, who is the president of the Robert Williams fan club, the Time Lord fan club. And as I understand it, Forsberg, you were actually doing backflips on the golf course today when you found out the news that Rob Williams was returning. Do you like this move? Because some people do worry that maybe it's a little too soon.
So I understand the hesitation, but everything I was told from the time Time Lord got hurt through his recovery, as long as there was no setbacks in his ramp up, the Celtics were comfortable putting him back out there. And look, if you tuned into Early Edition, if you tuned into Pregame Live, if you listened to the Celtics Talk podcast, I told you 3 weeks in, he'd be sort of ready to go, and it just came down to pain tolerance. I think they still want to see him tomorrow and make sure he feels good and before they throw him back out there. But what a boost to a team that's already up 2-0 to potentially add that fifth infinity ring to the league's best defense. And I just think it can only help as they try to put away this series. I think it's good for them to get him back in and get some activity. If you're hopeful that they're moving on to the next round and just shake some rust. Yeah. And the other thing I would say, Giles, is we've sitting here for weeks now and it's been like, oh, is Ben Simmons coming back? What's going to happen with Ben Simmons? And the Celtics were just like, not tipping their hand on the Time Lord. And yet I think some of us behind the scenes knew that there was a good chance he was coming back. And that was by design. So now it's time, turn him loose and let's see what happens.
Yeah, Jeff, I mean, the Celtics do not have a history of rushing guys back. In fact, if anything, it's more holding guys back. But with a 2-0 series lead, I do understand why some people out there would say, why bring him back now? You're up 2-0 in the series. You're playing extremely well. What's the point of rushing him back if there is any risk at all?
Well, I think it's to get him some minutes, obviously, like Chris said. Don't throw him to the fire. The good thing is you do have a 2-0 lead, and he gives you such a different look than any of the other bigs, Al or Tice or whoever you want to throw out there. I mean, again, he's that rim protector. Obviously, his game is built on athleticism, and that's where you have to be careful because it's not like Robert Williams has been Mr. Durability over the course of his career. So you want to have him on somewhat of a minutes restriction.
Chris, did you want to respond to that?
No, I keep hearing these durability things. He was pretty durable this year. He was out there for a bunch of games. Yes, this knee thing flared up this year. But again, I will just stress to everybody, because I had the same hesitation. You guys know me. I'm all about the future of the Time Lord, the future of this core. I was very hesitant to just turn him back out there if there was risk of re-aggravation of like any potential setback. But I've been told over and over again, like, this was a procedure. It went as smoothly as could be. And as long as like he is able to tolerate the pain, that they're comfortable with him being out there. And again, I don't think he's going to play a ton of minutes early on, but I do think having him out there just is going to give you the sort of little extra energy boost you need going down to Brooklyn and trying to navigate the series and trying to close it out and potentially ramp him up for whatever comes next.
Well, I think also it makes it so Al doesn't have to play extended minutes. And that's going to be important because if you want to go deep in the postseason, you want to make sure Al Horford, doesn't start to show his age as they go deeper and deeper. But again, listen, it's been working, right? That's the one thing you can say is they've done a hell of a job defensively on KD and Kyrie in the second game. So I would say stick to what's working right now. And if it's not working, the great thing is you have Robert Williams you can bring in to give you a completely different look against these guys.
So the question then becomes, are we going to see a different look from the Nets later in this series? Because you do have Ben Simmons. He's not expected to return in Game 3. However, he is targeting a return in Game 4. And here's what Ben Simmons had to say today about his recovery.
I feel close. I mean, it's not an easy injury to get back and move the same way, straight away. But it's a work in progress, and I'm working every day to get back on the floor as soon as possible. So I'm looking forward to that. I think for me, my IQ is so high to, play with guys like Kai and Seth and Kev. Just watch them. I know how they play. I know how they want to play.
Okay. The second part of that certainly caught my ear there, Jeff Goodman, when he says that my IQ, is going to allow me to just absolutely be able to fit with these guys, no problem whatsoever. There's a couple parts to this, though. First of all, how does Ben Simmons look that Robert Williams had surgery 3.5 weeks ago and he's coming back? Meanwhile, you got Ben Simmons, who's been out all season. Seemingly, I guess he's still hurt, but now he's going to come back for Game 4. Like, why not Game 3? What's the holdup here? And I can't imagine that his Brooklyn teammates are sitting around thinking, what are you doing? Let's go. We're down 2-0 in the series, Ben. Let's go.
Yeah, I talked to Ben before the game for a minute. I've known Ben since actually I broke his commitment, believe it or not, to LSU. So I've known Ben a while. And listen, they got to worry about his long-term future. And it's obviously the people around him as much as anything. Brooklyn, Kevin Durant and Kyrie would have loved to have seen him out there a month ago. I'm sure Ben would have liked to have been out there. But when you've got a back issue and you're his age, you're gonna be cautious because, again, there's a lot of money on the line down the road with Ben Simmons and his long-term future. But in terms of the impact he can make, he is right. It sounds arrogant when he talks about his IQ, but he's right. I mean, his basketball IQ is off the charts when he's on the court in terms of the things he sees with the ball in his hands. The biggest question I have is timing and speed. Because Ben Simmons, at his size, might be the fastest guy end-to-end in the entire NBA. But if he's still got those lingering back issues and he doesn't have that speed, he's not the same player.
If they're down 3-0, what's the point? Can someone explain this to me? Is he going to change the series? Are they going to win 4 games in a row because Ben Simmons is out there?
Well, that's my question. Jeff, if the injury is really a concern, why is he coming back at all in this series? Especially with them down 2-0, potentially down 3-0. Yeah. If the injury's there, then I don't know. Does that look bad? That it's a bad injury, but it's not so bad that he can't play in Game 4?
Well, I would say this: that if you could play Game 4, you could probably play Game 3, and that would be my take: is come out, play Game 3. Because if you get Game 3 and you're Brooklyn, look at it from their perspective. You're at home. You're going to Game 4 with a chance to tie it up, and you got a little momentum with Ben Simmons back in the lineup. So, that's the part. You're right, Chris. If they're down 3-0, you can look at it 2 ways. What do you have to lose throwing him in there? He can give you a spark, but probably a little bit too late because they're not going to climb out of that because of a Ben Simmons that, let's face it, can't shoot the basketball.